Hello, welcome to my channel. This is Floyd Humphreys at floydhumphreys.com. And today I just want to talk a little bit about the lies people tell in order to deceive. Now, it's particularly egregious when it's somebody that claims to speak for God that's lying to you. And that is considerably different than just your regular old white lie. That is what they call blasphemy. Now, when we talk about the LDS Church, we know that they do lie, cheat, and steal, and they were caught and fined $5 million recently for hiding $32 billion from the Securities Exchange Commission. So, it's not like they're honest. And, but, then there's people that say, well, they are man and their man is fallible. But then on the other hand, you've got the lying pricks that say that the prophet can't lead you astray. Now, we know these people are lying when they say that because all throughout the scriptures, there's prophets that lied, cheated, and stealed. I mean, they were fallible. They weren't God. Now, Dallin Oaks, he tells a particularly egregious lie when he says that being in the same room with Russell M. Nelson is like being in the room with Christ. Now, first of all, there's no way that he would know what being in the same room with Christ was like. We know that he's never had any revelation. We know that no member of the first presidency has in the last 100 years. Or at least, they've never said, "Thus saith the Lord," like all the prophets in the Bible say. So, when he says that being in the same room with Russell Nelson is the same as being in the room with Christ, boy, there's a blasphemer right there. Now, we know why he does that, because shortly here he's going to be the president of the church, and then he wants people to worship him the way they worship Russell Nelson. And of course, Jesus never said, "Come follow the prophet." He said, "Come follow me." In fact, he said, "Trust no man." So, here we are with known and proven liars. Now, there's an airplane story that Russell Nelson tells, and it's been debunked by pilots and airport officials, and plenty of people have debunked the story and, basically said that it's just plain bullshit. So, they lie. Now, why do they lie? Because if they were being Christ-like, they wouldn't lie, And I know me personally, if I ever was to be and president of the church, I would be humble. I wouldn't be an arrogant prick like, say, Russell Nelson is. And so, and nobody would be an arrogant prick like him. I mean, it's just not, it would be humbling. It would be very, very, very humbling. So, now, I got to tell you a story about rabbits, because then you'll understand why it is that Russell Nelson and the First Presidency and all of the Quorum of the 12 actually worship Satan instead of God. Now, here's how the rabbit story goes. I live out here in the middle of boonies, and sometimes when I come home, there'll be a rabbit, and he might be on the road, he might be on the side of the road. But when my truck pulls up, the rabbit will become frightened. Now, rabbits operate on instinct. They run when they're frightened. And so they run in whatever direction they're pointed. And if they run under my tire, then they get killed. And that hardly ever happens. But they run out into the weeds as if I'd chase them. Now, they don't think about it because they operate under instinct. In other words, when Lucifer said, "I'll save every soul, not a soul will be lost, no one will sin." Well, that's one way to do it, is just make people operate on instinct like a rabbit. A rabbit can't sin. A rabbit doesn't have the capacity to think about anything. A rabbit never makes a decision in its entire life. It runs on instinct. And so rabbits have the ability to make a 90-degree turn left or a 90-degree turn right while they're running. Consequently, dogs and cats have a damn hard time catching them, because a dog and a cat can't make those sudden 90-degree turns. On the other hand, dogs and cats don't run on instinct. They have brains, and they think, and they use logic, and they think about things, and they look both ways before they cross a road. And dogs and cats know that when I come home, I'm not going to run over them. They know where I park, because I park there every time. I park in the same spot. And they know that they can park within 6 inches of where my tire will rest, and that they'll be safe, and they know that I won't hit them. They know that I will not run over them. They know that I won't chase them down and kill them. And they know when I get out of the truck, I'll give them love. Cats and dogs are smart. Rabbits are stupid. And the reason rabbits are stupid is because they run on Satan's rules. They run on instinct. So you could say they're like sheep. Now, when the leaders of the church tell people to be like sheep and to follow them and never listen to anyone else, then the sheep become incredibly stupid. They become like rabbits. They lose their desire for truth. They don't even seek truth anymore. They quit seeking truth. If the prophet doesn't say it, then it ain't so. They don't even take it under consideration. You know, the prophet could go tell them to get a shot, and they'd go get the damn shot. You know, I mean, they become incredibly stupid. Incredibly stupid. Some would argue too stupid to be considered human. Perhaps like sheep or a rabbit. And so those people, when they become rabbitized, then they no longer seek truth, and they no longer read Isaiah that says that in the last days that the leaders of the church are drunkards of Ephraim like mad dogs. They quit reading the scriptures that Jesus said, commanded us to read Isaiah. And so then they become disillusioned. And then they become just stupider and stupider and stupider as time goes on. And then when somebody tells them that a chain link fence will keep mosquitoes out, they believe it. And which, by the way, the size of a chain link fence in relationship to a mosquito is precisely the same as the size of a virus and compared to the holes in a cloth mask, just in case you were wondering why I used that analogy. So they become incredibly stupid. Like I said, too stupid to become be considered human, perhaps. And so then they just pay their tithing and they go to the church and they don't listen to anything else. And if anybody tries to tell them truth, they said, "Get away from me, you truthful teller. I refuse to accept truth. The only truth I want is that comes from the lion pricks in Salt Lake." And so there you have it. And so, you know, some would say that perhaps I'm being a little bit harsh. And but I want you to realize that when you go to church, you're listening to a bunch of lying bastards. Even, and not all of them, not all bishops and not all stake presidents, but most of them, because they're under a mandate from Salt Lake that you do what we say. We don't give a shit what you think. You do what we tell you to do, period. So they become robots, rabbits. And then they refuse to seek truth. And then they tell people to get a shot or wear a mask or whatever. And so, and to quit reading the scriptures that Jesus commanded us to read and study. So, anyway, I'd appreciate your comments on that, because I believe that the people that are leaving the church are not leaving Christ at all. The church is leaving the people that are following Christ, is what's happening. Because the church is giving their millions not to the poor and the needy that need it, but they're giving it to the NAACP and the Black Lives Matter and Antifa and the Red Cross, which, by the way, only 20% of the blood that the Red Cross collects actually goes to a hospital or doctor. 80% of it is sold to make bioweapons. I don't know if you knew that or not, but the Red Cross is pure evil. But anyway, so I just wanted to, talk about this a little bit. And, if you say something in the comments, I'll, expound on something a little more later. But just know that truth is important. And when somebody tells you to overlook it, that's bad news. So, thanks for watching. Have a great day.